breakfast puppies?
This podcast contains adult language and content and is meant for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Glitterbois. Yes.
Hey, NPC.
Hey, Matthew.
What does Rifter number 7 and Inception have in common?
What does it have in common?
Brom. I'm really sorry about that. Really sorry about that. But it's another great Brom cover.
It is. I will never get tired of his gaming book covers. From Dark Sun through Nightbane to anything else that he's done in the Palladium catalog. I love Brom's art so much.
And then you immediately open it and you turn to Apollo's fantastic, very cartoony, very not Brom.
Well, no, he has a couple of styles in this. So we're talking about Apollo Okamura, who has done a number of pieces throughout Rift and Palladium and stuff over the years. He's got the art right on the inside cover, which is kind of this, slightly dark heavy metal thing going on. But then later on, he's got this kind of action superhero style going on. Yeah. I like a versatile artist.
I do too.
Yeah.
So you guys are familiar with this. We're actually starting to get some serious numbers behind this Rifter run we're doing. Like 7, like we're within spitting distance of 10.
Yeah, this one opens with a sad note dedicated to the memory of somebody who followed him, Kevin Whitlock, who I noticed his name is as a contributing writer. So I wonder, have to look back through and see which one he wrote.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it follows the typicals. You got coming up next, you got your table of contents. What's going on? There's actually some interesting stuff in here. I like that they moved an awful lot to fiction. Like there's everything after page 70 is just like playing in the world with authors and artists.
Yeah. I don't feel that we get enough Palladium fiction. So every time it pops up in a Rifter, I love it.
Agreed. Like Mech Warrior, ton. D&D, like literally the Amazon rainforest worth of books have been printed because of D&D. Like, and that's just Dritz or Drizzit or whatever the heck you want to call them.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that R.A. Salvatore is single-handedly responsible for climate change.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
See, I really don't know what I was going with that. This is an interesting, Kevin starts it out with from his desk, his page and a half blurb about what's going on. And I know we've said it before, I really like these. And I especially like this one, which is, why are Palladium books so often delayed? Like we like to tease, but it's great fun. We have nothing but affection for this company and for the people who work there. And I love how raw and real he is in this. And I really like how he always takes you on the journey he's having as a company, just pulls behind that curtain.
Yeah. I've mentioned this before, but I do love the fact that these Rifters, as we are diving through them, give us a nice look into the history of the company, at least starting from the late 90s.
He goes in to talk about this, about how long the lead time is, problems with publishers, the fact that he is, and probably everyone around him is wearing a ton of hats, that it's actually a small company comparatively. Fuck. I mean, like at the end of it, I just kind of felt for him. I'm like, I feel bad I've made those jokes. I mean, This is also back in July 1999, so I think he's over it one way or the other.
Yeah, after that, we get some news of coming attractions and things that are coming, which is fascinating because what's coming up next is like the very next page after everything's being delayed. It's a nice compare and contrast here. And they talk about the novels. I've read 1.5 of the Rift's novels that are talked about here. They're pretty good. What they do talk about here that has been mentioned many, many times since the novels were published are issues with the first one. The first novel, Sonic Boom, You know, it's a good story. I like the characters, but it had some major editing issues. If I understand correctly, the story is that the wrong draft was sent to the publisher.
Yeah. Apparently, they like it was so bad, their experience, that they would not work with that publisher again. And he went to great pains to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he wasn't even happy with the paper it was printed on. So
yeah. Yeah.
You know, as a person who's worn a lot of hats over the years, and often at the same time, like there's a certain, you know, there is, and I'm not going to spend the entire podcast talking about this opening page, but there is a certain thing where you are busting ass, right? You are literally busting ass over and over for as long as you can, and as long as you can, and as long as you can, and as long as you can. And you know, Kevin and Palladium have a bit of a reputation of being like bad to the people that work with them from time to time, or at least specific individuals. But there's a part of me that has a great deal of sympathy for it, because, I mean, granted, this is his vision and it's his baby, but anyone who is willing to put that much passion into it, I'll forgive a few snapping at people's, you know, or being a bit of a dick. Anyone who believes that long and that hard and is willing to put that much effort into it. I'm a Kevin Siembieda apologist, aren't I?
I don't think that's a problem.
No shame.
But yeah, we get some more coming attractions after this. You know, again, as you say, standard Rifter format at this point. They're starting to nail down the structure. It's the Rifter, you know. There you go. I think, at least looking through this list of coming attractions, we're now getting into a more solid list of predictions. I think that of all the ones that are listed here as coming, there's only one that never did, and that was Ninja Turtles 2nd Edition.
Yeah, but then, again, a licensing thing that they often suffer from. Oh, look what I got this week.
Rifts, the Butts Edition.
I got myself the original paperback Butts, just one to kick around, and it's dog-eared perfectly. And you remember what I was talking about, that printing thing?
Yeah,
where you get the
little peeling cover.
Yeah, it's just like I remembered it. I'm pretty sure that cover started to peel the moment you picked it up.
That was a problem that I had with a lot of my Palladium books in the past. Yeah.
They talk about system failure, which is, you know, we already did that. Please see our past episode.
Yeah. Y2K, it is one of their most dated capsule games.
Yeah. There's a night at the dinner table. It's a TPK, which NPC is not fond of.
Well, I understand his frustration, you know. BA is just, I'm surprised that he still runs this game after, like, I would have ditched this party after 6 strips.
Yeah, there's a backstory here, but they never mention the size of the town or its location. And I'm thinking it's a small town. Like, these are the entirety of the nerds. There's one store in town.
I know that there's one store in town, but every time that they've gone to the store, there have been other groups. And I know that they have rival groups, and those rival groups actually have their own spin-off strips, which
I have to go back and read all these again. I remember
the GM of the rival group is like this big buff military guy or something.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, they're angry. It's a dysfunctional group. They're going to do that.
So have you, Matthew, ever seen, are you familiar with the great comic actor Howie Mandel?
Yes.
Yeah. So back in 1989, he and that other great legendary actor of the time, Fred Savage, got together and they made a movie. And that movie was called Little Monsters. Have you ever seen this movie?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So Little Monsters kind of capitalizes, or was riding the tail end of the group of kids going on some kind of a crazy weird adventure thing that was happening at that time. Monster Squad, the Goonies, that kind of stuff. Explorers. Anyway, Little Monsters was about a monster who, I think his name was Maurice or Martin, or it was an M name. He came out from under Fred Savage's bed and lured all the kids into the evil world under the bed, where they're like, hey, come here. We're monsters. We fuck shit up because it's great. We don't have any rules. We don't have to answer to anybody. We don't have to do homework. Come and party with us. Oh, but if you stay past sunup, you're stuck here forever.
Okay.
So this next section of the Rifter, this Nightbane material here, written by Chad Rasnick, is basically the Little Monsters movie. So he made a setting out of Little Monsters. And I don't think it ever comes out and says it right here, but this is 100% the entire plot of the movie.
All right. I do like the levels of adventuring here, because this is a kids on bikes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I also felt that this was a this was a niche part of the game where it was certainly more appropriate to younger PCs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this would definitely be a kind of adventure that you could take a group of kids on. Now, setting up some kids in a Palladium game,
yeah, you might just want to hand it to them and then run them through it.
Yeah.
You know how every system has like the basic edition? Like, you know, even old D&D had like, you know, basic, and Hackmaster has basic, and you know, like all the real complicated ones have a basic edition. Palladium needs some sort of intro version that they can give away for like $5.
Yeah, like a starter set.
Yeah.
It needs a starter set with a little adventure.
Yeah.
Why hasn't this happened? Well,
I don't know.
This needs to happen. This really needs to happen. Anybody at Palladium, if you're listening,
is Rex still there? I think he's the only one who listens to us.
I don't know if Rex is still there. He hasn't answered any emails that I've sent him, so I imagine he might have left the company. But I know that we have people who have their ears that listen. We've gotten messages from them, and I think that because of this, if you're listening now, people who have the ears of Kevin and them, convince them to do a starter set,
or even just tell them that we can do it and we'll send it for approval. Like, that won't take much.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, yeah, they could just slap in some art and we'll get the rest. So that's my desperate pitch.
Speaking of slapped in art, I am not a fan of the art in this. I don't know. I could not decipher which artist this was, because their signature doesn't really look. I couldn't tell if it was an H, but it looks like a Z and an I and an L, but none of that really matched anything. Yeah. I couldn't figure out who this artist was. He kind of reminds me of that art from, what's his name? Bradshaw, who was in one of the books. He did a lot of the art in Dead Rain, that kind of punk rock style art. That's just what this reminds me of. And, you know, I don't know. It's just a little... This is very 1999. It not only is it look 1999, it's dated 1999.
You know, it's funny.
What?
We've now done 7 nights at the dinner table talking about, and we have never mentioned what horrible fucking art it is.
It's, you know, the thing about the Nights at the Dinner Table is that the art doesn't have to be good, because the Nights at the Dinner Table is really just some people sitting around a table telling a story. The best part of Nights at the Dinner Table is the sheer lunacy of what comes out of their mouths.
How do you say page 11, the artist? Is that Bray? Briox?
Page 11?
Yeah.
Oh, Bro. That's Wayne Bro. I think it's Bro.
That's Bro?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
I like how he and Long are starting to become interchangeable, though. Like their styles are really melting into each other's.
Yeah. Well, let's actually step ahead a little bit. Okay, so anyway, Nightbane, we've got the setting. You go into the world underneath the beds and the nightmares of kids, and if you stay there too long, you'll turn into a goblin. There's a boogeyman, there's a pumpkin king. There we go. That's all you need to know.
And an adventure hook, because they do a lot of those in this, and that is actually a good thing.
Yeah. So next we have a Palladium role-playing fantasy setting, not really a setting, more of a small faction that I find very fascinating, because they're dragon hunters. And, you know, dragon hunters, classic of fantasy, classic trope, dragon slaying characters. But these are dragon hunters who don't know that they're being ruled by a dragon.
Well, I mean, wizards say they're, you know, subtle and quick to anger, but they've got nothing on dragons.
Yeah. Not just that, but the powers that this group gets as they level up, they get access to these, magical supernatural powers exclusive to them. are essentially turning them into dragons without them knowing it. And all of the text of this is wonderful. The steps that the guy is taking, the polymorph dragon guy is taking to make sure that the others don't find out.
Yeah.
Just so he could get these dragon slayers to kill all of his rivals. It's beautiful.
I especially like the 3-color dot matrix art of the Saturday comics that accompanies this by Apollo. Once again, this is like high level Prince Valiant, low level everything else. Like it's really kind of off putting, honestly.
I mean, it definitely gives it actually looks like it could have been taken out of a Don Bluth movie, like Dragon Slayer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's meh.
And of course, then we got a number of hook, line, and sinker style adventure hooks for the Dragon group, Dragon Hunter. It's actually some pretty cool stuff here. And I really love it when they include this. It's instant adventure.
One thing I really like is what happens next, where they're talking about the different martial arts for the ninjas and super spies.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff here that is, well, so I didn't read a lot of it.
Capoeira. Ooh.
Yeah. I'm just my brain doesn't process ninjas and super spies because their martial arts are so more involved than I'm used to with, rifts, where martial arts consist of a skill called martial arts.
Right. I mean, I like that they get into some of the other things like, and the ways they categorize it, like Jeet Kune Do is an American thing because that's where it was developed. Savat, kickboxing, fucking Krav Maga. Yeah. There's some I've never even heard of in here.
Oh, and
of course there's pro. Yeah, go ahead. You earned this.
Finally, I didn't know this was in here, but finally, actual boxing as a martial art. I love it.
You can tell the love too. The fine art of boxing is everywhere in the world. It's very common and incredibly popular. To run over its history and nuances would fill this entire book. So suffice to say, boxing is a European-based art of fisticuffs. Now, like Jeet Kune Do got like this really quick thing, and that was Bruce Lee. I mean, somebody really loves boxing at Palladium.
I don't know. Jeet Kune Do got a lot of words and a lot of praise about Bruce Lee. Yeah. Well, that said, boxing got more.
Yeah, boxing got more.
Yep. I wonder if Kevin's a boxer. He's got to be.
He's like big through the shoulders. He's kind of got a belly now because he's older, but I could see him stepping into the ring when he was younger.
I mean, George Foreman's got a belly, but
yeah, I still wouldn't want to take a punch from him.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, if you are still a boxer and this is a thing you do, I'd like you to ignore all the possibly unkind things we've ever said.
Who would win in a fight? Kevin Siembieda or Uwe Boll?
Who?
Uwe Boll. He's a director of, he did like, let's see, In the Name of the King, the Dungeon Siege movie. He did Blood Rain, House of the Dead. He has done a long slew of video game adaptation movies that were so bad solely because he was using them as a tax loop in his country. And he threatens to box anybody who gives a bad review to his movies. Yeah.
Oh, well then, Kevin, obviously, because you can just tell he's angry at something. He doesn't like have to come out and be a bully about it.
Yeah.
That's the guy you got to watch. Watching you, Kevin.
What I also like, though, specifically, is that then it takes it applies the boxing method to these skills and gives alternate versions of them that are simplified physical skills. So if you don't want to get down and dirty into each of the martial arts, you can take kickboxing as a physical skill or Tai Chi. Yeah, I love it.
And here's my personal favorite, dieting. If you eat correctly and you eat healthy and don't eat whatever the Rift's equivalent of Cheetos are, you get 1d4 hit points. You get a physical endurance point. That almost makes sense. You get a +1 saving throw to poisons and toxins. And you get, and this cannot be stressed enough, +1 to your hotness, baby.
When you make an effort to eat healthy and look good, you end up looking good.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, then we get some more martial arts powers, blah, blah, blah. And then we have Chaos Earth. This might be the first mention of it.
7? Yeah, I'm guessing it is because some of this was lifted straight and moved to the new one, moved to the book.
When some of this was completely ditched entirely, such as so the Chaos Earth presented here is actually different than the book that we ended up getting. What we see here is an alternate reality. This is not the same cataclysm that started rifts. This is a cataclysm that started 30 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
Whereas, the rifts cataclysm just butt fucked the planet. This was less of a butt fucking, so it wasn't as severe. It didn't result in that, interdimensional nexus that Rift Earth has become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just has a wall of Mexico because Mexico is entirely vampires.
Yeah, it has the Mexico vampires. And actually, there's no mention of anything in here called Nima. There's it's
only like 2 pages.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, it's like 3 pages, but it just feels like someone is like this was them feeling it out. This was like the next step from the elevator pitch, which is good. I like that. Then we have Scalabots. Scalabots.
Yes, I love Scalabots. They're one of my favorite disposable villains for Rifts. And these are pretty cool. They are, you got the pirate Scalabot.
Yeah, this kind of feels like the 3rd gen of G.I. Joe to me, honestly, where they start getting all neon and...
Well, yeah, that's also because they used the new color style, which I was never a big fan of. But yeah, you got the pirate Scalabot, you got the human-looking Scalabots that don't actually know that they're Scalabots.
Yeah. One thing I really enjoy about this, and I don't think enough companies or even just any media producer of any type does it quite the same, is like this is a periodical, right? This is an addendum. This is where we can do corrections and give you bonus data, right? There is really no reason for them to do anything artsy with it, but they do. Instead of just giving you like a data sheet with a brief flavor text paragraph at the beginning, this is pages and pages of like this little story about Scalabots, and it's really freaking cool, and I love that they did that instead of just like Scalabots can be found within this range. They are mainly used by the coalition. Some people have them as and just like this real dry thing, and they chose instead to do this cool little story, and I really like that.
Then we have the Super Scalabot, which is a buffed up badass version of the Scalabots that can eat people and make more Scalabots.
Which is how that should be. Really like that. And again, you get some adventures to go with it, with these new things. I've often wondered if this is what we were going to do in our campaign. Was it these Scalabots or were they normal Scalabots? No one had ever heard of Scalabots, so I wasn't sure.
What I was planning on doing with the campaign that we never ended up running for this was your characters, the story began early. So it really began like right at the beginning of Rifts, the setting as introduced in the Rift Butts edition. And in that edition, Scalabots are brand new. Yeah. So what I wanted to do was start with something that is now considered an iconic villain, but turn it into a new menace and give it the due horror that I think it deserves.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about England? I hear it's a real nice place.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they say about it? England, nice place to go visit? Oh, no, wait, what's that? England, a green and unpleasant land?
Yeah, I didn't read much of this. I think this is the guy who passed.
Terrifying typos.
Yeah, there were some really bad typos, and there is a thing that amateur writers do that, I don't want to throw shade on people, so I'm just going to be vague about this because I'm not a published writer. I mean, I am. I've published a couple books, but I'm not a published novelist or
not
fiction writer.
Yeah.
That said, I have opinions on something called dialogue attribution. And that is where when someone asks you a question, they're like, "Hey, what would you like for dinner tonight?" She asked.
Yeah.
"Oh no, they're coming for us!" he exclaimed. It's when you use the attributive verb exclaim or ask, it's kind of amateur. Like, you don't have to
I could
say
see it
that
in like a long conversation or when you want to add emphasis, but I agree. Like if it's every sentence, no, that's kitty. That's the kitty table.
And that's how this was. Like every time someone spoke, they didn't say, they exclaimed or they screamed. But with good fiction, that's
show don't tell
implied. You don't have to say that someone exclaimed when you're clearly reading them exclaiming. So anyway, sorry to speak ill of the dead. I think this is the guy who passed on. Sorry, Kevin.
Oh, damn, dude.
This one didn't get me. I couldn't do it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. There's not a lot of places where people get to do it anymore. Like, there's not a lot of magazines that are actually buying fiction anymore.
Yeah.
Like, people, they either self-publish through Amazon or God help them a printer that they sit on a whole bunch of copies of and hopefully get rid of them. Like, I really hope that they all do, because even like the really bad books, like somebody's spent a lot of time and effort on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that this is like a proving ground, like the magazine format, the periodical, the digest, that's just kind of disappeared. And I think writing as a whole is lessened by that.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Or at least fictional big gun skeleton robot fiction is lessened by that. Yes. And we have more of the other fiction. We have Hammer of the Forge.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? The comic. Which one was that?
Oh, the comic is what's the name of the comic?
I forget.
Machination of Doom. Yeah.
That's right.
I have said this a million times and I'm going to say it a million more. I love Ramon Perez. He is my Rifts artist, and his style for this comic is so perfect. I just want more. I want more and more and more and more and more. And there's only the one graphic novel, which they split up across the books, or across the Rifters. I just want more. I want Ramon Perez in every Rifts book.
I would really like to see, like we said at the very, very beginning, I would love to see more Rifts fiction, or not even just Rifts. I'd like to see more Palladium fiction. There's these such rich lands and tales and settings with everything you could possibly want. And it's barren of it. And some of the stuff that was out wasn't great. So I'd really like to see more. I really, truly would.
Same. Always. Anyway, after that, we've got Hammer of the Forge. We've got more of the comic. We've got more of the siege on Tolkien. And that wraps this book up.
Yeah. The art in Siege of Tolkien is significantly better than the rest. Now, remember when I was bitching about Apollo?
Yeah.
Like way back at the beginning? Well, here's some work on page freaking 102, which is stunning.
Yeah. I like
that alien.
Variety. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's it. It's the buy now and that's about it, right? This is where they wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was Rifter number 7, folks. Well, when we haven't done enough studying, we'll get back to you with 8.
All right. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to The Glitterbois, a Palladium Books fan podcast. Glitterbois, Rifts, the Megaverse, and all other such topics are the property of Kevin Siembieda and Palladium Books. Please buy all their stuff and help keep them in print and making more games. You can order directly at palladiumbooks.com, and their entire catalog is available digitally at Drive-Thru RPG as well. Our opening music is 8-Bit Bass and Lead by Furby Guy from freesound.org. This closing music is Caravana by Philip Gross, available at freemusicarchive.org. All sound effects used are self-made or acquired via Creative Commons 0 license. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter and Facebook as The Glitterbois. That's BOIS. And check us out online at breakfastpuppies.com/glitterboys. And also join us on the Breakfast Puppies Network Discord at breakfastpuppies.com/discord. And if you want to help us out, please spread the word and help us build a community. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Excuse me for just 1 second. I have to evict a cat. Those are power cords. Let go, and I will let you live.
That's a fluffy little bastard.